looking on to another coach who's made some coaching moves and a guy who many thought might not be back after this year. He's been at his alma mater now for a number of years, and it seems like it should have been time to kind of turn the page and kind of flip things over. You're 4 years in. And I understand there's a COVID year in there, and things don't always necessarily work out, but you should be rolling here. You've got a lot of your own recruits. Things should be moving in a better direction. And all of a sudden now, what are they, 3-7? Assured that they won't be making a bowl game, even if they win out. Best they would be able to do is 5-7. So Scott Frost will not make another bowl game at Nebraska, and his career record there is 15-27. Really bad. Brought his whole staff over from Central Florida. Didn't have really any experience or a ton of experience recruiting the Big Ten, Midwest. It's a group of 5 staff. I'm all for bringing as many guys as you can, but you ultimately have to make the decision which guys are good enough to elevate with you and which guys aren't. And so be his third OC in the last 4 years. Coming up, he's a guy who is heavily involved in the offense. He's involved with it a lot. The new AD, Trev Alwards, comes in. Alumnus there had to make a decision on what they were going to do. Now, with everything I just said, I think it was the right move to keep Scott Frost. He's got to recruit better, and this year's recruiting class is not great. There's a lot of players that he has brought in who are talented. You look at J.D. Spielman now down at TCU. I mean, receivers going back to Kentucky, guys that are really, really talented players who could have helped this offense. Scott Frost was lamenting, maybe we wouldn't have lost some of these close games, because the reality is, of those 7 losses, 6 of them are 1-score games. And the most recent one to Ohio State was a 9-point loss. So they've lost to Ohio State. They've lost to Oklahoma. They've lost to Michigan. They've lost to Michigan State. And most of those games were coming down to the final drive. And heck, Nebraska even had a chance on a strip sack against Ohio State to potentially pull it out. And so, they're making all these moves. They're doing all of these things. And they're bringing him back. And I think that ultimately is the right decision. But it's do or die time now for Scott Frost. And you can have all the talent in the world that you want. And he's talked about maybe, talent would have prevented some of those games from being as close. But ultimately, with his return, he's going to have to make sure he gets these hires right, which will be tough, by the way, because people know the situation they're getting into. And it's probably not one with a high degree of job security. So coaches are going to look at that. And if they have a better option of going to a place with a coach that is established or is just getting there, and we're going to have 2, 3, 4 years to fill it out versus potentially a one and done situation if they don't win, and then look at the roster, look at the talent that they have coming back, is that something that you're rolling with? So there's a lot of issues that they're going to have to get sorted out. But they were close this year. They were close. Defensively, really good. They still have some things that they've got to get sorted out, but defensively, they're really good. They just have to find a way to get that offense going. And he made a slew of changes, and we'll see who he's able to bring in. And if there's anyone that he can bring in that's, close, familiar to the program, has a history with the program. Because if you look back on this, I mean, everybody wants to say, after Tom Osborne and Frank Solich, where did he go? I mean, Frank Solich wasn't great. He was 9-3, really good. Bo Pelini, very similar, brought it back after Bill Callahan. Mike Riley gets there. That thing goes in the crapper, and they haven't been able to kind of pull out of this thing. And I don't know. I'm afraid that Nebraska could be coming, you call them museum programs, maybe even a mausoleum program. Like it's done and it's dead. It has a great history, and it's very important to the history of college football. But what are the prospects of it moving forward? Scott Frost has basically a year to figure that out. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it done, but based upon what I saw with the losses this year, they're close. 4 top 10 losses. I think losing to Illinois at the beginning of the year rocked their world, and they had a hard time bouncing back and recovering from that. And frankly, that was a game that they needed to win, and they didn't. And they blew it at the end of the first half. So they've got to improve on the situational football. But I like basically assuring Scott Frost that he will be back next year, but he's got to do something with it. They gave him the ball. Now he's got to be able to go and get it done.